Hi, welcome to CIDC Nirman. I'm Jayashree Kurup. I'm editor CIDC Nirman, and I have with me Mr. Sanjay Kumar Singh. He was the former Steel Secretary of the Government of India. He has also worked in diverse industries such as telecom, skill development, technical education. He was the DG BIS, and today he's also the chairman of the High Powered Working Group on enhancement of steel in the construction sector. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. Sir, one of the things that we're looking at is the how to increase the low per capita consumption of steel in the country to a much higher, about 170 kgs in about a few years. How do you do that, and how is the working group that you're chairing working towards this?
Yeah, Namaskar, Jayashree ji. Let me explain the steel sector first. Uh, right now, we are producing in the country 120 million tons of steel. Out of this, around 59% goes into construction and infrastructure sectors. And the pace at which the construction and infrastructure development work is going on in the country through primarily through public funding. We can foresee a huge jump, and which we are not in a position to imagine right now in time to come, in a few years from now. Like for instance, I'll mention our steel consumption is growing at a pace of I'll say 7% per annum, and but in construction infrastructure sector the pace is much higher. It's in the vicinity of 10%. So in time to come, and you also see the kind of funding which government of India is making available uh, for the construction and infrastructure sector. So that is going to provide us very rich dividend. But despite that, our per capita consumption, when we compare with other countries, that remains low. Of course, here the uh, reason also is our huge population. It's per capita. In terms of total quantum, we are consuming very large amount. But when it comes to per capita, our consumption is 78 kilos per capita. And average all over the world is around three times ours. Further, when we compare rural and urban, the differences in consumption. Rural is in the vicinity of 30 kilos. So that's these are the kind of dynamic which are at play. And I'll just upfront mention that infrastructure is consuming a lot of steel in because their designs are such that steel is required, and we can enhance the steel consumption in infrastructure by taking up more works, but intensity of steel consumption in infrastructure by and large is quite satisfactory. And of course, a bit of changes, a bit of increase is required, but it's primarily in the construction sector that where the steel consumption needs to be given a fillip, and that is because one general perception among the consumers is when we increase steel consumption, then the price of the construction goes up. Of late, of course, if you compare the lifetime's cost, definitely it's very advantageous. And apart from that, why are we negating? Why are we not covering the risk factor? When a steel building is there, steel construction is there, then the risk of its getting damaged by natural calamity is minimal. And when steel is not there, then the kind of natural calamity of late which we have seen, they have been huge devastations. So that is an issue. So that's all the more reason for us to start using more steel. Further, recently I came across some architects who are using artificial intelligence and machine learning in their designs. According to them, with the use of these kind of technology, they are being able to use the optimal level of steel, and that cuts cost rather than, like for instance, if you are using a 5 bar, in place of that, the weight of the building is such that it can, a bar of say, I'll say a 50 or 20 but 20 can sustain in place of 50 so then that does save the cost. And further, now the kind of steels which are getting developed, because they are alloy steels which are lighter, they are able to carry lot of weight, but in itself they do not have much weight. They are strong. They are steels which are malleable. So I mean, there is huge research which is going on by the steel developers and steel producers, and which is in sync with the consumer requirements all over the world. So this is what I'll say. It's not only the upfront cost which should be seen, but further by using technology, by using, I'll say, the right kind of designers, and who are using advanced technologies, the cost can further be reduced. So overall, it's a win-win for those who are going to uh, use more of steel in the construction sector as well.
So, when you are there policy issues that need to come up so that you could push this in terms of one is skilling, in terms of the mandating in contract documents, how much steel has to be used, or there's a lot of unengineered construction that's happening across urban and rural India. So, do you need a policy framework to address this?
Yeah, of course, we have building codes already, and the buildings are made according to them. And every now and then, updation in these building codes are happening. And these things happen according to the requirement, according to what is required due to the vagaries of nature, and further how much, I mean, it is not adding too much cost to the projects, as well as to the individual consumers. So keeping that in view, there are building code, there are standards which are very important when the buildings are concerned. And especially I can say about the government, I mean, these building codes are followed, I'll say, in totality. And when it comes to the private investments, there also the organized sector is following these codes. I think they are going, maybe I'll say, one level up. But when it comes to unorganized sector, where the individuals are making houses and so on, so there, but people are generally very conscious about it. But I'll say one thing: it's all about awareness generation. There will have to be a very, very strong awareness campaigns to be carried by various kind of stakeholders, like who are the ones who are directly in touch with the consumers, because consumers are realizing now that we need safer buildings, and buildings which are not damaged by things like earthquake and cyclones and so many things which are happening all around. And and further in areas, several areas of the country, I mean, there the earth crust is not very solid also. So they further, I think more of these kind of interventions are required. But I think in one line, what I would mention, that need is there, people are realizing about it, and there will have to be a thrust in which everybody is in sync, and there will have to be more of push towards awareness building, and awareness building is going to cut across sectors. One is awareness, making aware the consumers who are going to construct building. Government department primarily, more or less, they know about it. But along with that, also the, I'll say, the skilling institutions, that whether they are technical education institutions, whether they have updated their curriculum to the extent where these kind of structures, these kind of technologies can be adopted by them, and that can be integrated into the skilling programs. See, I think everybody has to work in unison, and in all these sectors have to be in sync. I mean, then it is going to make a big impact in a shorter frame of time.
So, what about the sustainable path of steel? World over, we are working towards ESG goals and so on. So, what about the steel sector? Where is it placed?
See, about this, I'll mention like steel is a metal which which is going to be there forever. It does not disintegrate. It Nothing happens to it. Of course, with time, there are a lot of environmental damages which happen, but that kind of steel is also being used in production of steel, all kind of steel, what we call the circular economy. The circular economy in steel is a very important way forward, because that is a route through which we are also going to control carbon emissions. So towards sustainability, the most important things are: number one, uh, getting into circular economy. But here the challenge is there is not much of scrap available. Since by its very nature, steel has a very long time period, and it's only in certain sectors where the steel is used. I'll say the white goods sector and electricals and so on, where the life of the steel products is limited. Otherwise, in construction and infrastructure, where 60% of the steel is being used, I mean, it's there for a very long period of time. So scrap which gets generated, that there is a we do not have much scrap available in the country. I'll say that right now we are using not even. I think no, we are producing not even one fourth of our total steel production with scrap, and scrap is not available world over, or whosoever is able to collect it, and they are utilizing it themselves, because it's environment friendly. If you use electric arc furnace, then there are no emissions. And the second thing which in sustainability is, because we are a major consumer of steel products as well. In time to come, the pace at which our infrastructure growth is happening, we are going to require steel. And that kind of steel comes from blast furnaces. And right now, uh, blast furnaces produce more than half of our total steel, but they also emit a lot of carbon dioxide. So the blast furnace emission can be controlled through with the use of green hydrogen. And so a lot of thrust government is giving to green hydrogen, and green hydrogen mission has been set up, and that is going to be a game changer for steel sector. And if because the steel sector is considered to be hard to emit sector, hard to abate sector. So it's a hard to abate sector. So but with green steel, putting in right kind of technologies, being more efficient, leaving out less of wastages, and the wastages which get generated and utilizing them as well. So these are the kind of routes which good steel makers are, and aware steel makers are utilizing. And in the steel sector, most of the big players, I mean, they already have a timeline by what time they are going to be carbon neutral.
So, as we push up the consumption of steel, will we have a problem with capacities?
Capacity is not going to be a problem, because I'll just say, right now we are producing around 120 million tons. If we grow at, say, 9% annually, by 2030, our requirement would be in the vicinity of 230 million tons. And that kind of steel production capacity is already being set up. Investment is coming into it, because what does industry do? I mean, they look at where are the opportunities. So the growth opportunities are there in this sector. And India is one of the few countries in the world where the consumption is going up and the production capacity is also enhancing. In the remaining part of the world, China, I mean, it's coming down. I mean, and their consumption has reduced drastically. Our consumption, I'll say, in last financial year, in terms of percentage growth, our production was in the vicinity of 8-9%. Consumption was 12%. There was increase of 12%. So that's the kind of uh, steel production growth which we are foreseeing for the future.
So one last question. Tell us about the task force on enhancing the use of steel in construction, and what is the mandate and how are you going about it?
This is a body which has been set up by CIDC, Construction Infrastructure Development Council, and because steel, as I mentioned in last 10 minutes, that it is a sector, construction sector, that where a lot of players are there. There are skill developers, there are technology education providers, then there are standards bodies which set standard. There are architects which prepare the design and all. So all these cross body and also the private players, public government bodies. So everybody is part of this high level task force which has been set up by CIDC. The mandate is that providing a unified kind of a strategy, developing unified kind of a strategy, uh, cross-sectoral, that which is acceptable to everybody, acceptable to standards bodies, standards architects, private, government, steel makers, and so on. That how we can enhance steel, because steel enhancement in consumption is a, is a, is a, is a, is a very big necessity for us, and we cannot really overlook it now, because after you see all over, like there are tunnels which are which recently tunnel collapsed, and these look at the strata. There are all kind of now scientists are telling about the state of that place. So, and every now and then the hills, I mean, there are all kind of natural calamities. So the solution is using more of steel.
Thank you so much, sir. A pleasure talking to you.